Hi, brothers and sisters. I'm here now to share my testimony in front of you and the world of my dirt, my filth, and my shame. My testimony for these things I am not proud of. A lot of things have happened in my life. Like all of us, I am no different than any of us. Where do I begin? I had a family when I was little. My mom, my dad, and my brother, my younger brother. And it was good, as I knew it to be. My parents over time ended up getting separated and getting divorced. I was my dad's girl. I was daddy's little girl. I always wanted to make my dad happy. Look, daddy, I got straight A's. Look, daddy, I brushed my teeth. My dad was everything to me. My mom was a different case. Nothing I did right was in my mom's and my mother's eyes were right. She told me almost daily she hated me. Called me things like Little Miss Muffet, a pill. I was a liar. Many, many things. After my parents' separation, my dad wasn't there anymore for me. My joy was gone. And it was just me and Mom and my little brother. My mother was physically and emotionally abusive to me. And my protector, my dad, was gone. Me and my mother had many battles, and a lot of them I deserved. After my dad left, I started smoking cigarettes. He had liquor underneath the kitchen sink, and my mother worked nights Monday through Friday, 5:30 to 2:30 in the morning. So needless to say, my house was the party house. I started drinking my father's booze, such as Dewar's, JB, vodka, many others. And as the bottles went down, I started filling them up with water so my mother wouldn't know. One day those bottles were gone. My mother must have caught on. From that, I started smoking pot. I started doing pills, such as tea, yellow double barrel, mescaline, microdot, have brought laughter to me. Tea would just numb me. It eased the pain, my loneliness, my hurt that my mother didn't love me and my dad that did was no longer there. Years went on and cocaine came into the picture, and I would do lines along with everything else. It made me feel good. My friends became my family for, I'd say maybe about the time I started 14, 15. My mother would start kicking me out of the house. Sometimes for good reason, others for none. She thought I was having sex when I was still a virgin. It didn't matter what I told her. I was always a liar. I could never make her happy. She hated me. And I forgive her. I'm sure, I have no doubt, that my mother's pain came from her testimony, from her life that she lived. My friends, like I said, became my family. And when I got thrown out, I would find the party. And sometimes after the party, at 2, 3 in the morning when she was asleep, I would sneak back home. Or I would find a couch or a chair that I could crash on for the night at somebody's house. By the time I turned 16, well, let's go back when I was about 13. Like I said, my mother was very physical, and she would throw coffee cups, knives. She would attack me, scratch my face and me all over and rip my hair out. And I'll never forget one afternoon, another argument stemmed when she came to attack me. And I was like, Mom, this ain't happening anymore. You're not doing this to me anymore, Mom. And I had to put my mother in a headlock. And I held her there. And then I had to pin my mother on the floor and put my knees on her shoulders to hold her down. And I wouldn't let her up till she calmed down. I just wanted it to stop. I meant no shame to my mother. I just couldn't do it anymore. So, at 16, I got thrown out once again. And I said, this is it. I'm not going back. I can't do this. I found a place to crash for the night. I'm sorry. This particular time I got thrown out. I said, I'm not doing this anymore. And I was working at Burger King. And all the other times when I got thrown out, I could go find what bridge what woods everybody was partying in, and figure out what my game plan was. This time I got thrown out. I was working at Burger King, and I got ready for work. I put on my Burger King uniform, and I went to work. And this was before cell phones. And the whole time I was there, I didn't know what I was going to do after I got off my shift that night. And a close friend, and dear to my heart, and I'll never forget what she did. She was my best friend throughout school, and she used to know every time I was scratched or banged up. And this time, she knew something was wrong. She just felt it. Something was wrong. She came to my work with her boyfriend, and she come up to the counter and she said, Robin, are you okay? And I said, no, Sue, I'm not. I got kicked out again. I don't know what I'm going to do. I don't want to go back there. I'm not going back there anymore. Her parents had a summer home or a vacation home in Florida, and they were away. And she said, Robin, don't worry about it. What time you get off work, I'll come and pick you back up. And you can stay at my house until you figure things out. And sure enough, as soon as I got off my shift, Sue and her boyfriend were there and took me home to her house and let me rest. Father has always, throughout my life, been there for me. Always when I needed him most. I used to think it was my grandparents. I didn't know who it was or what it was, but time after time when I needed somebody or something, anything, Father always sent me comfort. So I stayed at Sue's for that week's time, trying to figure out what am I going to do, where am I going to go. And mind you, I was still in high school. My mother always used to tell me just for me to quit school and get a job to help her. I was only a little kid. Only a little kid. Anyways, I apologize where I'm all over the place. So, while I was with Sue, I thought of my neighbor growing up. She was older now and had an apartment over by the park where we used to hang out and smoke pot and drink and drug and all that we were doing and play horseshoes. And I thought of her. She had just broken up with, and Coke was in the picture too. Don't want to forget. And I went to Sue, two Sues, and her and her husband had separated and she had a small child. And I asked Sue, can I come live with you? She knew my mother. It was a four-family. I grew up downstairs on one side, and her parents grew up on the other side. So I went and lived with Sue, number 2. And I finished high school. I worked at Burger King. I babysat her son. I gave her what I could, and I did everything. And I thank Sue, both of you, for giving me shelter and comfort when I needed it. Again, Father was there for me. Years moved on, relationships came and went. I always had a steady boyfriend. I was never one to date this one or date that one. Pretty much once I went on a date with one, he was my boyfriend and I would be with him for years. I had my first son when I was 25 years old, Brendan. My love with Brendan. Me and his dad, another failed relationship. And I left him. And I went back to study the Bible because to the Jehovah's Witness, I forgot to mention that part. When I was about 13, 14, Jehovah's Witnesses came and knocked on my door. And days before that, me and my friends, when we were all stoned, were asking questions that didn't make sense in the Bible. A couple days after that, 2 Jehovah's Witnesses showed up at my door. My mother was in the bathtub. Me and Sheila answered the door. We tried to stump the Jehovah's Witness. My mother asked who it was. I told her. She told me to have them wait because she wanted to talk to him. So from that day forward, I went from no religion to Jehovah's Witness at the Kingdom Hall. We would go 2 times a week to the Kingdom Hall, 2 hours a shot, and then we had Bible study that we would go to a woman's house and Bible study at my house. I never wore a dress. I looked awkward in a dress. And I would come home from the park and being stoned out of my mind, throw my church dress on with my Bible and walk out, and all my friends would be out there. My mother would scream and beat and swat me as we were driving there and yell and scream at me. And the minute we pulled into the parking lot, it was okay. Put the pretend face, everything's good on. But she did what was right for her. So, moving again forward, when I left Brendan's father, I went back to the Jehovah's Witness. I had prayed to Jehovah. Jehovah, how am I going to raise my baby all alone? Help me. The next morning, 2 Jehovah's Witnesses were at my door, and I started studying. Back to the Kingdom Hall. I'd say about 6 months or so into that, I met Larry. My younger son chased his father. My younger son chases his dad. He also was my oldest son, Brendan's dad. For his dad and father didn't want anything to do with his own son. I hope this is making sense to you all. While I was with Larry, I got introduced to crack cocaine. I was about 26, maybe turned 27. I'm 52 now. I started smoking crack. I didn't think much of it until little by little it was taking over me. I actually moved out of that apartment on Hill Street up to Beacon Street, thinking if I just moved, my life would change and go back to normal. It didn't. It just escalated. I was up for days, not knowing what day it was. It was awful. Ugh. I tried checking myself into rehab a few times. Didn't work. Anyways, Father, clear my thoughts. When I was 32, me and Larry had our son Chase. I love you, Chase. You are my heart. All that I said that I would never do, I found myself doing. Oh, Chase, when I was pregnant with you, I smoked crack cocaine more than once. And every time I did, I would cry to Jehovah. That's all I knew at the time. To forgive me and to not let my sins fall upon my unborn baby. And I prayed that Joyce would come out healthy and alive. My shame. Needless to say, bless you, Father. Chase come out healthy. Matter of fact, the night he was born, I was using, and my water broke, and I was so scared. But once again, Father was there with me. He didn't let my sins fall upon my child. And the doctor that did the delivery, she let me stay in the hospital for 3 days with my child. And they didn't take him away from me right then and there. Bless you, Father. Thank you, Father. Once again, I went in rehab, acupuncture, doctor's appointments, NA. I just never could do it. I could never shake it, could never quit it. I would cry myself to sleep constantly. And out of my shame, I used because I couldn't think. It numbed me. It took all my pain away. I never had any family. I always desired family. And my 2 children, who were all my family, what I was doing to them. My children were taken away from me. One day, a DSS caseworker There was a knock on my door, and a neighbor had called to report me. And the caseworker came in, and we sat down and we talked. And I wanted to be healed. I desired to be healed. Fix me. I was honest with her. I told her my struggle. In that conversation, she told me to go down to the office location and bring Chase and Brendan with me. And I did. I listened. I didn't know I was setting myself up to give my children away. I was deceived. I thought I was doing the right thing. I was asking for help. It broke my heart when they took my children and I couldn't go near them, and I was crying and freaking, and they said, "You better stop or you won't see them." How I calmed myself and pretended everything was okay for my children, for my mistake. Once again, Father was with me, that helper, protector. My children, the first night, got to stay with this really nice woman. I don't know what her name is, but I thank her because my children could have ended up with God knows who. And she was nice to them, and she comforted them, and my boys got to stay together rather than be separated. By morning, the next following day, Larry had his sister, Auntie Cindy, came. She went to the office, and she took my two children into her home so they wouldn't have to go into foster care while I tried to fix myself. They found out that Brendan wasn't blood. And Auntie Cindy, thank you, took a special course, a foster care parenting course of some sort, so that she could have Brendan also in her home, because she wasn't family, she wasn't blood, even though that was the only family Brendan ever knew. For 3 months, my court case kept getting postponed because it was winter and there was always one snowstorm. Every time that there was a scheduled appointment, there was one snowstorm after another. So 3 months came. During this time, I went to every meeting, every class, everything I could do, everything the caseworker wanted me to do, and more. I wanted my children home. More than anything, I wanted to be well. My court case finally came. Days before that, I had smoked some pot. See, I couldn't use, but I could drink. I could drink wine every night to get me through. And that was okay. You can't test positive for alcohol in you. That was acceptable to DSS. Still don't understand that. But anyways, I smoked some pot. And my caseworker called to tell me my urine came out positive. And I denied it at first. I said, "Oh, I was just in the car with some friends. They were smoking it, not me." She said, "Robin, you've been open and honest with me up till now. Don't start lying to me." And I said, "Yes, I did. I took 2 hits. What are you going to do to me now? My children." Another blessing from Father is when we went to court, my caseworker went before the judge and requested my children be sent home to me. She forgave me. They don't do that. Their mission is to break up families. She went before the judge, even though I had smoked pot, and requested them to come home. That was a gift from Father. Even though through all of this, Did that stop me from smoking crack? Wasn't that I didn't have the desire. I went back to it. Over time, it was like nothing ever even happened. But I still cried myself to sleep. My shame. I was broken. All this time, I missed my father, my dad. He lived only up the street from me. He remarried, and the woman had 7 children, and he raised them like his own. I often wondered, Dad, when I was living with Ma, how could you let us go with no food or our lights being shut off and not be there and help? And then to go on and marry and raise 7 children and not take care of your own. Dad, how could you do that? I loved you, Dad. I loved you so much. Regain my thought. So, again, I tried any way I could to kick my habit, crack cocaine. I don't regret the things that I lost. What I regret that I lost was spending time with my children, for they are grown now, and I can never get that back. I can never get those moments back. It was my addiction. It was my brokenness. It was never that I didn't love you guys, Brendan and Chase. It was never that I didn't love you. You were my joy, my life, my world. I didn't know how to fix myself. I didn't know how. I always knew I could only do it with God. I went to Jehovah many times. I knew I couldn't do it on my own. So, times pass. And it did. He told me from the get-go he would ruin my life. I didn't understand it. I was fearful of it. But he ruined my life as I knew it, as it was. And I thank him every second for it. He waited patiently for 3 years while I was in and out of my bedroom between hits. Or doing a 2 in the morning run because I still had some cash left in my pocket. It was still early enough for me to do one more bag. He never judged me, yelled at me. He was patient and understanding, for he knew. He learned through his life. There was nothing he could do. I thank you, Dan, for being so patient with me. I told Dan, I used to pray to Jehovah when I was coming down pretty much every night or early morning for God to send me a man who understood the struggle with drugs, but I didn't want him to use it. I didn't want another boyfriend who was a druggie or a drug dealer or an alcoholic or this or that. I wanted somebody who understood, who I could be honest with. I wanted a man of God, who loved God, religion, the truth. And Father sent him to me. He ruined my life, he did. Last year, for the Feast of Tabernacles, Christine came from Ohio to celebrate our first feast. And we went, and I was kicking and screaming all the way because I was still using. I wanted to see, but I could only see so much so far. I was still, my mind wasn't clear. The devil still had his hold on me. And we went to the Feast of Tabernacles, and me and him got in a big argument because I have a problem listening, understanding. Another thing I need to work on, and I will, Father. And I went home. As soon as the sun rose, I got in my car and drove. And then me and Dan texted and talked, and I went back to finish off the feast that week. And then after we got back, a week or whatever it was later, me and Dan had another blowout, and I spewed lies from my mouth, crazy thoughts. And I kicked him and Christine out. And they packed up and left, and when they left this area, and usually when I mess up, always when I mess up, I meditate on what I've done, what went, and then I come around that I want to apologize. And I text Dan and Christine about how sorry I was and the way that I acted, and asked them if they would come back home, and that I would be good this time. I promise. Once again, I promise I'll be good. Dan asked me, we'll come back home. Just don't use. Just wait till I get there. And I said I won't. And they came that evening. And I sat and talked and I cried to Father. And I begged him, Father, I didn't beg him, I was yelling and screaming. Father, take this from me, Father. Please, why can't you take this from me? I don't want this in my life anymore. Father, please take this from me. And Dan said to Christine, let's go. And we immediately sat and we all held hands on this couch in this area. And Dan prayed, and we all rocked. And he prayed to Father. I don't even remember the words. Then after he was finished, he went in my bedroom and he cast out all the demons because that was my spot. And I said, make sure you look under my bed and under my closet because I knew they were in there. I knew they were in there. And he wiped clean went through this whole house. And you know what? This is my testimony. And Christine can bear witness to this. That from that very moment, Father delivered me from my struggle of addiction. There is no more switching it up for something else. There is no more desire. There is no more, oh, Father, please let me not use today. Just help me through this 1 minute of this one day. There is no more of it. It was gone. Oh, Father. He's truly amazing. With him, all things are possible. I lived it. I bear witness to it. And I thank Dan for staying with me and hanging in with me so that I could find my way home. I just want to end with, I hope I did a good job before Father to help at least one of yous come to the truth. For it is good. It is good. It's not easy, but it's good. It's way better than the life I was leaving. I wouldn't go back there for all the tea and China. What I do want to say is, today, I don't care what the world thinks of me or judges me on. Today, it's what Father thinks of me only. The world, you can love me, hate me, I'm crazy. But Father healed me and still is at this present moment. I thank you all for your time. I love you all. Thawada Shalala. I didn't even say that right. Oh, shalom. Oh.